You read that title correctly. What the flip is wrong with this offense? What is up, fans? Feeling a little bit better. Still feeling like garbage. Hopefully tomorrow by 4 o'clock, all's gone. And we're live for the Dolphins taking on the Seattle Seahawks. But we're going to talk about the Dolphins offense a little bit. Barry Jackson on the 19th, which was Thursday, came out with an article saying Dolphins offense remains in stagnant stretch. Hill, McDaniel address it. So we're going to see what they have to say because it's a problem. And it's not just these past 2 weeks. It was the playoffs. It was the Bills game. It was the Ravens game. It was even the Cowboys game. The last time that the Dolphins offense really did anything was that 30-0 beating of the Jets. So it's been about 6 games since the Dolphins offense really has done much. So we're going to get into that and kind of see what Barry Jackson had to say and Tyreek Hill and Mike McDaniel. But first and foremost, I have to shout out today's sponsor. That is Clean the World. Clean the World is a fantastic, great organization, corporation. It's just a great group run by Sean Seipler doing some fantastic things for people of need. His story, and I'm going to make a whole little vignette for you guys so you can see, was essentially he noticed that in hotels, you get the bar soap and not everyone uses them all and then it gets wasted. So he contacted the hotels and was like, hey, how about I take that soap and I repurpose it? And that's what he did. He took all that soap, cleaned it, repurposed it, made new bars of soap, kind of look like this. And he gave them to people of need. He puts these kits together to give it to people of need. He backpacks, food, shower stations. If you're a third world country, natural disaster, the homeless, people of need, he goes out and helps. He does some great things. He's a great human being, and he's a good friend of mine. Go check it out, cleantheworld.org, as well as his other great fundraisers and all that other stuff. So let's jump into this and see what's going on with this flipping offense. So he starts the article. The Buffalo Bills last week became the last playoff team to successfully slow down the Dolphins offense, a development that is becoming more commonly increasingly troublesome. In some cases, that strategy involving blanketing Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and dragging and daring others to beat them. The oddity is that Miami has been generally successful this season against two of several defensive schemes that involve playing two safeties deep. According to website True Media, Miami Dolphins have completed 24 of 26 for 258 yards against cover 2 and cover 4 defenses, which involves safeties lining up well downfield. Again, because we love to throw it over the middle with slants, drags, and all that other stuff. But Miami is just 5 for 10 for 46 yards and 3 interceptions and a touchdown against cover 3, in which there's 3 deep defenders dividing the deep responsibility of the field into thirds. The Dolphins are 3 for 8 for 38 yards against 2-man, which is 2 deep man under defenses with trailing coverage underneath and the protection of 2 deep half safeties over the top. But the Dolphins haven't had enough explosive plays while committing to many turnovers, 3, and offensive penalties. Miami has combined 10 false starts and offensive holding penalties, are the most in the league. So again, some of it has to do with discipline. Some of it has to do with the offensive line. Against Buffalo, Miami mustered 10 points, marking their 5th time in a row that the team failed to top 20 points dating to last season. Miami offense struggled mightily even before Tua's injury. Hill and Waddle combined for 65 yards, their fewest as a tandem since becoming a tandem in 2022. With the NFL's 2023 passing leader sidelined by concussion, Skylar Thompson must help lift this Dolphins offense out of the mediocre stretch dating back to last December. So what must change when teams are blanketing Hill and Waddle? So this is what Hill had to say. He says it's a collective unit. I can't stand out here and point fingers at nobody. We all got to be better. We got a great group of leaders and a hell of a coach. No excuses for none of us. Even Mel Kiper Jr. created a stir on Thursday when he said the NFL should ban two high safeties because it curtails exciting pass plays. Asked if Hill agrees, Hill said it does take the fun out of the game, but people are trying to win games. It's up to us to try to figure it out. Our coaches have been doing a great job all week. I'm interested to see how this game plays out. One solution for the Dolphins would be leaning more on the run game and daring teams to continue to play light boxes against them with two safeties deep. If the Dolphins pound the ball against two high safeties, will defenses eventually need to play 8-man front, leaving Hill and Waddle facing less double coverage? Yeah, Hill said, I'm hyped to see how we pound the ball with a guy that weighs 160 pounds. Hill was joking about 188-pound Devon Achane, who had 22 carries for 96 yards against Buffalo and rushes 10 times for 24 against Jacksonville. Achane is different, Hill said. For him to have any more carries than he had, still be able to hold up, tremendous young player. If we continue to lean on him right now, he is the spark of the offense, and we need that. So real quick before I go into the rest of it, let's kind of digest what I've said to you guys so far. So again, the Dolphins do well and feast well off of cover 2 and cover 4 defenses. Again, 24 of 26 passes, 258 yards. They do well against those, but they don't do well against the cover 3s, which in turn takes the back end of the defense and separates it into 3s, and essentially takes away those type of plays. There's also other coverages, 2 deep, half safeties over the top, which has the underneath coverage, a trailing man coverage underneath, which can help with the crossing routes. What can help with that is essentially running the flipping ball more. But here's the thing, right? Because we can't jump to conclusions and be like, Mike, run the ball. What the flip? Come on, man. Get your head out of your butt. Because there are times, I saw it against the Bills, where Jalen Wright had a nice 10-yard run, or somebody else would have a run, or we'd make a nice play, or something would happen, and then flag. And that is Miami's combined 10 false starts and offensive holdings is the most in the league. So right now, we run the ball and we do it consistently well, but then there's a penalty that brings it back, and then we're in a down and long distance, which then forces us to change the schematic. If Mike McDaniel kind of just stuck with the run a little bit, and if this offensive line got their head out of their butt and stopped committing those types of penalties, I think that would help us tremendously. Like Barry Jackson was talking about, it would force the safeties to kind of play down a little bit more. It would force them to, instead of doing a 3 high safety look, to go back to a cover 2 and force a guy to stay in the box and then let us eat over the middle or have our deep shots down the field. If you notice against Jacksonville, the one play that worked was kind of a deep kind of double crosser between Waddle and Tyreek Hill that allowed Tyreek Hill to get open. He even had 2 guys trailing him, though. So that's something that really you need to look at. Now, when it comes to why it's so difficult to get the ball to Hill, Waddle against Buffalo, Mike McDaniel said, when a defensive team or opponent is committing to take somebody away, you have to make them pay appropriately. You have 2 people guarding one on a run on rundown. So I think what's cool about Reek and Waddle and their understanding of football. So I think that he when Mike McDaniel talks, if you have to read it, it's just all over the place. Because this is literally what it says. I'll show you real quick. Right here. So I think what's cool about Reek and Waddle and their understanding of football and really our offense is there's certain situation where it doesn't see like. So I think those. It's like he starts a sentence and then he goes into a completely different sentence. But anyway, so I think what's cool about Reek and Waddle and their understanding of football and really our offense is there's certain situations where it doesn't happen but that often, but they'll come to the sideline and tell me, hey, you know what? We need to run the ball. They know the safeties and corners aren't even looking at the ball during play action. So you have to execute and make people pay when they're overplaying something. So then run the ball more. Run the ball more. The rest of the offense is in an advantage situation if they're going to fully commit that the way that some teams have been. You always have to keep them involved, but there's balances where teammates have to really make opposing teams pay if they're going to overcommit that way. And until we do, teams will do something until you make them pay for it. So essentially what he's saying is make them pay for it. Run the ball, but also stop committing penalties. Be more disciplined. Have a more disciplined team. Get them to stop flipping committing penalties and holds. And some of the holds are bad, but some of the holds are legit. And it negates big plays that are going down the field. Hill hopes that the offensive issues dating back to the final quarter of last season are just a blip. We will get through this, he said. Every team goes through this. I was on a great team that went through it. It's all about how we respond to it. Don't point fingers, trust the process, go in the film room as much as we can and figure it out. You don't want to do anything outside your job. You're going to be held responsible and accountable for it. Do what you're coached, trust your fundamentals and techniques, and you'll be all right. What excited Hill about Thompson, who was filling in for Tua beginning on Sunday in Seattle. He's a little bit faster than Tua, so I'm really excited about that. Skyler does a great job of extending plays. Against Buffalo, he did a good job of stretching the ball downfield and giving them a different look. He had some great qualities himself, fearless, not afraid of anything. He's a real competitor. Love that. He'll address other issues on Tua. Tua is great. He's doing amazing, yada, yada. On plans to do something collective with the team. Other stuff. So essentially, what's wrong with the offense is it kind of seems like they're trying to force something to happen. And if these teams are going to take away your best players and you're going to take away what we do best, which is stretch the field, use our speed downfield, Mike McDaniel needs to draw up something new. And that was something that I talked about going into this season when I talked about, kind of assessing, I think I did Mike McDaniel, is he needs to game plan and he needs to make halftime adjustments quicker, because a lot of the problem is they don't make that change. They don't flip it because, okay, they're playing that 3/4 deep, or they're playing for us not to be able to throw over the middle. They got the man underneath kind of covering that side of the field. Run the ball, man. And don't do these like weird little boo-boos, because like you noticed how it worked with that one play where it looked like he was going to pitch it to Achane, but actually he hands it off to Tyreek, who ran around and got distance. Run the ball more. Run it up the middle. Run it to the outsides. Run it till they have to stop it, because the Seattle Seahawks have a hard time stopping the run. Feed into that. They got a very good secondary with that, Legion of Boom 2.0. Run the ball. Run it. Own the time of possession, own the offense, let your defense rest, because they also struggle on their offensive line. That is the fundamental to beating Seattle. Run the ball, own the time of possession, and feast on the offensive line of Seattle. But overall, the problem with the offense, in my opinion, is it's all in their heads. Like, yeah, the offensive line is a problem, and there are instances where we don't have enough time to let plays develop. But it's like Mike McDaniel's like, no, it'll work. No, it'll work. Just if you notice it, and if you're breaking down film and you're noticing, hey, they're trying their best, especially Buffalo, especially Jacksonville. These top, I'm not going to say Jacksonville's a top good defense, but these defenses are not going to allow us to push the ball down the field. And I think that's why against Jacksonville, he kept throwing those screens, because he's like, they're playing deep coverage. I'm going to throw the screens because then they got to come down and make the tackle. Just run the ball then, man. Run the ball. How many times do we watch these things and watch these games and go, boom, we just broke off a 6-yard run. Run it again. Because if you get another 6-yard run, knock, who's there? First down. Boom, we just broke off a 10-yard run. He's hot right now. Give him the ball again. It's like the Kansas City Chiefs game. 2 runs got us down to the 31-yard line of Kansas City. We threw it 4 times. There was no need to throw it 4 times. I get it. If you ran it once and we lost yards on it, then sure, maybe throw it, because now they're really going to try to focus on shutting down the run. But after running it twice and getting it down to their 31, run it on first down. Because if you get 5 yards, you're still able to push. You need another 5 to just keep running the ball. It's like the Cowboys game where we ran it and we kept moving the pile to get to field goal range and win the game. It's like the Jaguars game where Jeff Wilson Jr. came in and we ran it and got into field goal range to win the game. Run the ball. Run the ball. Don't be a one-dimensional offense. Don't have people be like, "Oh, we just got to shut down Waddle and Reek and we got this," because that's essentially it. Because everyone behind them is doo-doo butter because Odell is not going to be available until at least the Patriots game, and the same thing with River Craycraft. So run the ball. But maybe Eric Uzukama is going to get called up. The Seattle receiver, his name is not in my brain right now, might be called up because Trozen's gone and they need to have somebody else come in, and Malik is going to be doubtful. Give you an update. Malik is doubtful, Mostert's doubtful, and DeBose is out for the game. So maybe we get some Eric Uzukama end arounds and Eric Uzukama 50-50 balls. We'll see, but comment below. Let me know what your opinion of why the offense is struggling. Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you guys tomorrow at 4 o'clock for the Dolphins taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Per usual, stay classy. iPhone's out.